What is up, everybody? I know I said that I was probably gonna, do weekly uploads after the next post, which is this one that I'm recording right now. Um, that's probably not gonna happen for a little bit because this wasn't even supposed to be my next post. I wanted to do the podcast as my second one, but I don't know. This topic kind of came into my head, and I thought that I had some I guess important things to say. Um, but yeah. Um, This is, my experience being an addict and with drugs in general. I just want to spread awareness so people understand that this is not a fucking joke or something to laugh at or anything like that, really. So, my 10 months is coming up, and I thought I guess a lot of people know about my experiences, but it's kind of broken up into a bunch of different parts on my TikTok. So I kind of wanted to just sit down and kind of retrace my steps for the past couple of years. So I guess it all started when I was 11 or 12, and I was at my dad's wedding or something, and my cousins offered me a hit of a jewel because that night I had gotten a little tipsy. It was my parents' wedding, so I was stealing a little bit of alcohol. And I had older cousins who had jewels because that's what was popular at the time, and they offered me a hit, and that's when it all started, really. And after that, it wasn't really immediately I was like, oh my god, I need to just start doing a bunch of shit. It was I think maybe a year I was purely smoking nicotine, and then I tried weed, and that experience was a lot. It was a lot because obviously for the first time, I don't think I even felt the effects, but I knew I wanted to. So this was going to be a multiple time thing. And, you know, I think this was around 13, 14, I started smoking weed. Because once I felt the effects and once I actually got high, I immediately fell in love. And I wanted to be like that, as much as possible. I felt like it changed who I was as a person. Like even when I was sober, I felt like a complete different person. And I know that's all bullshit. It's very psychoactive. It's going to make you believe things that aren't true. And I guess it's really where it all started because from that day forward, I really just didn't want to be sober after that. I loved the feeling of being high so much that it was just I need to feel like this all the time. And at that point, I really didn't look at that as oh, this is a bad thing because I was like, I'm never going to do anything more than smoking. I'm only going to smoke and stuff like that. But, I stuck to that, I think, for about 3 or 4 years. Yeah, I'd say by the time I was 17, 18, shit started to go downhill. But yes, at 17, 18, I think I picked up Adderall for the first time. One of my friends had been prescribed it, and I started buying it off of him because I had a job. And at this time, I was working from the second I got out of school to 11:30 at night, and then I'd go to school the next day. So shit started to, not look the best for me, I'd say, because I do I do Addies, and then I'd get home and I still wouldn't be tired, and then I'd stay up all night, and then I'd go to school, and really they started to have the opposite effect of what I wanted. I wanted to stay awake and be more attentive in class and at work, but I started to be attentive all the time, even when I was at home, and I couldn't fall asleep. So then it started to have the opposite effect where it would make me tired and lethargic and tweakish. I was very agitated all the time. Um, so then at this point, I started to experiment with downers as well. So I started doing Xans and stuff like that, and painkillers as well because if I couldn't get my hands on Xans, just doing the next best thing because I guess the Xans would really help me fall asleep and kind of help me control my anger a little bit. Um, but yeah, around this time as well, I guess I was in my senior year, and that's when I really started to use all the time. Um, And then after I graduated, I kind of stopped using stimulants and downers. Like I would use downers here and there, but I really gravitated more towards like psychedelics because to me those were what like that's what like being high is supposed to be like, you know? It's like just fun. You see a bunch of shit, everything's pretty, you know? And I kind of with everything that I did, I threw myself down a rabbit hole that was pretty impossible to get out of once I reached the bottom. But, you know, nonetheless, I think I did psychs every day for like 4 months. Like it was insane. I did psychs like every day. This is around the time as well where like my friends started to get bothered and they started to worry about me and the things I was doing and how I was acting and stuff like that. And this is like the start of the downfall of like all of my friendships and relationships. Um, at the time, I was in like a 3 year relationship and she was very toxic, but for some reason, out of nowhere, just started like worrying about me. It was a lot. I was very annoyed, even though I shouldn't have been. You know, this was a very normal reaction to someone you love and care about becoming a shell of themselves. You know, it's probably not that fun to watch. I could imagine, but nonetheless, it pissed me off, and I started to lose a lot of people around me. And around this time, I think I'd been like it was like September, and I'd graduated from high school in June. So it was like, yeah, like 3 or 4 months. I think it was like September, October. I visited my mom, who had lived in Arizona at the time, and that was like my 1 week of soberness and just normality, I guess, because the second I came back, it was it was done. It was over. I found a good crystal dealer. I started doing crystal like every day, every single day. It was really bad. I don't know if I can even say the names of these drugs like on YouTube without it getting taken down or striked or anything, but you know, I did crystal for every day for 6 months, I think. And that was like actually my rock bottom. Because I was spending like $100 at least a week, and that doesn't seem like a lot, but like imagine paying $100 a week for Netflix. Like, could you imagine that? Could you fucking imagine that? It's. Could you imagine paying $100 a month for Netflix? It's it's insane. I think I'd spent over $1,000 on this in the span of 6 months. It's it took over my life. It was ridiculous, and like around this time, I keep saying that around this time, but I'm trying to like give context to like around the time period I was in. When I had started doing it, I'd just gotten out of that 3 year relationship, and I'd found out that she cheated on me with like one of my best friends. And in my brain, the best revenge that I could possibly get was ruining my fucking life and reputation. Like, I really just took it upon myself to like make everybody uncomfortable with my presence or like just even my name being brought up. And that kind of brings me to this point where it's like that's really kind of where it ended. I quit the crystal, and then like it was like 2 or 3 months of me using other things to get off of the crystal, and that ended up fucking me even more because then that's when I got arrested. I got arrested off of like Percocet and fucking I was Everclear too. Like I was drunk as shit. I was blacked out. And if you guys don't know, that situation was very fun, and I can explain that real quick as well. Um, so basically, the night that I really decided it was best that I quit everything else and go clean, um, was the night I got arrested. Like I said, I was on Percocet. I was blackout, drunk. I don't remember a single second, but the officers explained to me, and also some of my friends explained to me what happened that night. Um, so I was out drinking, with some of my friends. And not even like friends. I didn't even know these people. Like it was just I wanted to go out that night, and some people had a whip, so I was like, I bet I'll pull up. And around like 3:30 in the afternoon, they picked me up, I guess, and then around 6:30, 6:37 ish is when things start to go black. And once they go black, when you black out, you just wake up. You know what I'm saying? Like the second you black out, is your consciousness just transports to the next day, or whenever you're sober enough to think again. I woke up in a hospital bed, handcuffed to it, and I tried to go back to bed at least 4 times because I genuinely just didn't believe what was I was like, this is not real. I genuinely believed I had like officially lost it, and I was like seeing shit. But no, it was very real. And when I asked the cops like what had happened, they apparently found me naked, and I was trying to break into my neighbor's house. And prior to that, like 20 minutes prior to that, I had successfully broken into like an RV in front of my neighbor's like house, and I had like undressed in there, got naked, stole shit, and then I tried to go into their house, broke a window, and then this is when the cops found me. And then after that, I went to the psych ward for a week. It was state mandatory. And once I got out, I really tried to like change my life and get better, because a lot of people don't say this about like drug use, but it really does change you like really bad. People people in my life did not want to talk to me. They didn't want to see me. I mean, I lost almost all of my friends. Nobody wanted to be near me whatsoever. And that had never really been a problem with me before. Most of my friends have said great things about me. Pre-addiction, I was a really good friend. I was like a decent person, you know what I'm saying? But once I got into addiction, all of my friends really started to like see the worst in me, and I started to see the worst in myself too. And I think I like acted on that part of myself more than like seeing the good. Like I just gave up pretty much. I just saw the worst in myself, and that's just what I believed I was. Um, but you know, there was specific people who stuck around that whole time, and I'm very grateful to those people. Like genuinely, I couldn't have done it without them. And I don't think I'd be where I am right now without these experiences. But at the end of the day, it's not about like it's really not about you know regret. Like you can't regret anything. Like I don't regret these things that happened, even though they are heinous and fucking bullshit. I do not regret these things because I mean, let's face it, I can't. Like I had to learn from these things. So at the end of the day, it's like I can't regret anything I've learned from, because that's just education. That's just like what happens, you know what I'm saying? Like you fuck up and you learn. Some fuck ups are really big and some fuck ups aren't, and at the end of the day you just got to like deal with what you got, the cards you're dealt with. Um it took a lot to realize that, because I think the reasoning for me being an addict in the first place was being very unhappy with the cards I was dealt, and feeling just I felt like a victim. If I really want to get down to it, I felt like a fucking victim, and I needed to victimize myself as much as possible. Um, and yeah, that really led to like the worst downfall in my history. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think I could ever reach that level of horrendousness ever again. This like situation really taught me about myself and who I want to be as well. I think that's really important when getting clean, is like looking at major life events that have like really affected you, and being able to learn from those things and take the positive from everything. Because if I was still bitching and complaining about like everything that's going on in my life right now, I don't think I don't think I would be like anywhere close to who I am today. But you know, this is why they say, what's that saying? Live, laugh, love. Live, laugh, love, and learn. All right, I'm changing the saying. It's live, laugh, love, and you fucking learn. Because we live. Alright, I'm not gonna explain that to you guys. I think you guys get it. But I think, my experience is very similar to like every other drug addict out there. Like one day you're young, you're curious, you try something, fall in love with it, and that thing takes control of your mind and your life. And some of these people, when I went to the psych ward, I really saw the worst of everything and everybody. I saw people who had been, doing drugs since they were like 10 and like they were 60 something. You know what I'm saying? Like if you can take away anything from this video, it's that it's never too late. I know you may think it is, but it is definitely not too late. And I think it's also about realizing like when too late is for you, because I thought it was too late for me, but then I had to realize like I'm like the time I quit I was 19. So I'm like a 19-year-old kid acting like he's like a 65-year-old man who like has nothing for him left. You know, you may think you have no options, but I think life surprises you at the best times. I mean, the amount of times I thought I was cooked and gonna die and I just didn't. I mean, I should have been dead. I overdosed a couple times. I mean, I should definitely not be here, but I think life has plans. Whatever higher power out there has plans for us. And I think, you know, going with the flow is the most important thing. I went with the flow. That's who I am. I go with the flow all the fucking time, dude. I think, another big reason why I was a drug addict is because I just like went with the flow. I hung out with certain people who were doing the same things, and I thought that that was right because just go with it, baby. Just go with it. But I think, you know, you should go with the flow on certain occasions. Getting clean, that's going with the flow, dude. It's taking it step by step, day by day. You can't just get clean. You have to take that day by day. It's not something that just happens. At least in my experience, I think certain people they are able to do that. But all right, sorry about that. Girlfriend texted me. Um, anyways, yeah, I feel like it's all about just step by step. I feel like people like always look at the end goal, and it's not about the end goal. It's about like the now and what you're doing right now. It's not about the end goal. It's really not, because the end goal is a result of the process, and that's what I've always said. You can't have an ending without a process. You know what I'm saying? Like there is a process to everything, and you have to focus on the process. It's not about the end goal. It is about the process, and I promise you that. That is the best advice I think I've ever received while getting clean. Is it's not about the end goal, because the end goal is just a result of the process, and you are constantly going through the process. I'm 10 months in still going through the process. It doesn't end. It just doesn't. And some people may think that that's like insane. Like, oh my God, it's not, no, it's not about that. I don't get cravings. I don't like feel withdrawals anymore. Like, but it's still a process. It's still a day by day thing. Sometimes I may feel like I want to do that again, but I can't, because I have a better life now that I want to like keep up with. And I just want to keep doing better and keep like progressing. It's really it. Because it's not just about getting clean either. When you're getting sober, it's about finding yourself, finding out who you are. It's not, again, when people focus too much on that end goal, they're losing so much of that process, so much of like the most important parts of that process. You guys are just focused on getting clean or this or that. No, it's about you. It's about yourself. Because at the end of the day, dude, like you don't know yourself. If you're like out here really like using drugs every day and like you are an addict, you don't truly know yourself. You know, your limits, you know what you take, but that shit makes you lose yourself like 10 times out of 10. I don't think I've ever met a stable drug addict. And if I have, they weren't an addict yet. You know what I mean? Just like I was stable for about 4 months. 4 months. And then for the next like year and a half, I was like an absolute insane degenerate psychopath. You know what I'm saying? So please, if you're getting clean and you can take anything from this, focus on the process. Do not focus on the end goal, getting clean. I know I've said it like 40 times, but I could never hear that enough. I could genuinely never hear that enough. Um, that's really all I gotta say. Fuck it. Um, hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys probably soon. Peace.